It's time to decide a champion in the 2007 Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. We're at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit as Tony D'Alberto comes in with a 44-point margin over Ford Rising Stars Racing's Michael Caruso. Jason Bargwanna joins me in commentary, and this is going to be an interesting weekend, and dealing with the pressure is paramount.
Well, absolutely, Aaron. It's an absolute pressure cooker for these guys. Down to these final two races, the championship's still wide open. Phillip Island Raceway, one of the most exhilarating racetracks we drive during the course of the year. Turn 1 at over 200 kilometres an hour, down to turn 4 where it's nice and slow, through the Hayshed. How exciting is that corner? Obviously, you work your way back down through MG and onto the main straight, which will put you around about a 135 if you've done it right.
And if you've done it wrong?
It's a lot slower than that.
Let's hope they can all get it right this weekend. Luke Youlden, the winner of the last round at Mount Panorama, has a change of colours for this weekend. He wasn't going to be at Phillip Island until a last-minute deal has put him on the grid. Luke, we didn't think that we were going to see you here at Phillip Island, but you've managed to make your way here.
Yeah, I tell you what, it wasn't looking too good there. You know, the demise of the HPM money really let us down towards that, towards this last round here, and especially after sort of dominating at Bathurst there the last round, and to be here was going to be very frustrating. And there's still a chance for us to get up to, even second in the championship, so we're really pushing hard this weekend.
What about the fact that since you got this BA Falcon, the last 3 rounds you've outscored everyone, even Tony D'Alberto, the championship leader? 07 must be a case of what could have been.
Yeah, it's been good in one regard and frustrating in another. Obviously, since we had this new BA, like we said, we've done really, really well. And like you said, what might have been, if we start off the year in this car, we could have won the championship by now. But we'll press on for next year. We've got some really good support this weekend from Burbank Homes, from Ezekiel Clothing, so they got us over the line.
What about 2008? It's always hard to come back and mount a challenge. What's in the pipeline?
I tell you what, Ross Stone says to me every year, mate, you deserve a full-time drive, and it's so frustrating not to get it. And it's unfortunately, I'm not sure how the sport's going, because it's coming down to some rich kids basically getting drives, and it's so frustrating, I tell you.
You've been with Russell Ingall at Stone Brothers the last few years. Are you going to continue that association for the Enduros?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I mean, I think Stone Brothers are pretty happy with me. I'm sort of pretty happy with there. We've sort of been 3 years with them. Settled in really, really well. The guys there I've got a good rapport with. I fit in there pretty well as well, so I love driving their cars and bring on next year.
2 races this weekend at Phillip Island. No reverse grid. Race 1 after the break. The cars are on the warm-up lap for race 1. The final round of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series will be in car with Marcus Akanovich in the Opus Prime stockbroking Commodore, the former Garth Tander Toll Commodore. He's fighting for a spot in the top 10 in the 2007 Championship. Will be with the Brit Adam Sharp in one of 3 Howard Racing cars. The Englishman hasn't tested before this round and is starting a bit further back in the pack. And Grant Denyer, a change for Grant this weekend, the Just Carts In car. He's driving one of the Matthew White team Falcons, having split with the Ford Rising Stars team. He's going to start from position 8, but Kane Scott, his first pole of the year, and Jonathan Webb, they're fighting for 3rd in the championship.
It was a very, very fast qualifying session this at the time of the day. The track was nice and cool. These top 6 guys would have found themselves in the top 10 of the main game race.
Damien White back behind the wheel after that nasty crash at Mount Panorama. Jeff Emery back in the category this weekend in the second Matthew White car. And Shannon O'Brien stepping into the Howard Racing car that we've seen Andrew Thompson use earlier on in the season. He'll start from position 15. And Mark Howard, his final ever race in the Fujitsu Series. He's going to step out at the end of the season. But a good field of cars, 29 for this final round of the championship.
It's obviously exciting for Mark Howard. He's obviously had a great V8 Supercar career, and for it all to come to an end here, he's probably got a few tears in the eyes, but I'm sure he'll enjoy himself today and have a good day's racing.
Grant Denyer starting from row 4, position 8. A season high for Grant in what has been, I think they call it a character building season. The revs rise. There's a championship up for grabs at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Kane Scott to the left of screen. Jonathan Webb in the Stone Brothers Ford. But look at the start from Michael Caruso from the 2nd row of the grid. He is charging to turn 1.
Jonathan Webb was caught napping there a little bit on the start. You can see him get swallowed up by the first corner, but Caruso, he is shot off the line and taken the lead. You've got to love some of this first corner action. You get down into these first 2 corners and everyone's bumping and rubbing in. Just a slight touch will put you straight off the track, so you've got to be so careful.
Oh, there goes the first one. Shannon O'Brien in the Howard Falcon off through the dirt on the exit of the Southern Loop. He'll rejoin right down the tail of the field, but Michael Caruso, storming start. Oh, that's Grant Denyer running slowly in the Summit Fleet Leasing Falcon, but Caruso leading. Kane Scott is second. Luke Yulden, stunning start, he's third.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in that first lap or so, you've got the tyre pressures nice and cool. You can see the bumping and grinding going on the field. The tyre pressures are cold.
Oh,
inside.
Tony D'Alberto sneaking up the inside of Marcus Sakanovic.
It's well done. It was an aggressive move, but he's managed to push his way through.
Now, D'Alberto has a 44-point margin over Caruso coming into this weekend, and the simple maths are that Caruso needs to win both races to give himself a chance.
Well, Caruso certainly got the good start there. He's got the head down, and now all he needs to do is look at that windscreen, not worry about the mirrors, and focus on putting some fast laps together.
Oh,
bang, crash.
Damien White, a little bit of a lock-up coming across the top of Lukey Heights, managed to hang on to things.
It really is your best opportunity to make passing manoeuvres on that first lap. So when they there's poor Grant Denyer.
We're hearing from pit lane that there's a clutch problem with this car.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Now, this is a replay of the start.
Oh, you can hear that clutch slipping. There's no drive there whatsoever. That's a frustrating thing to be in. It could have either heated the clutch up or could have had a mechanical failure with the clutch there somewhere. It's not hard to tell from this stage.
That sums it up, doesn't it? That sums it up, Grant Denyer. The season from hell, really.
Frustrating, very frustrating for poor Grant. He's had a few dramas during the course of the year and was looking forward to a big weekend, but it's not going to happen.
In car with Adam Sharp. Damien Assaylet just in front. Jeff Emery having his first start of the season in the Fujitsu Series. Drove for the Smiths Trucks team, and boy, it's wild and willing in the mid-pack.
Oh, this looks fantastic. Looks like the guys having fun out there. And one of the things is you can actually run side by side around some of the corners here at Phillip Island. If you give each other a little bit of room, you can actually have a decent race about it.
Jonathan Webb tailing Kane Scott. These two are fighting for third in the championship. Kane Scott third coming into this weekend. 18 points in front of the Stone Brothers Racing Ford, and just behind him Luke Yulden, the Burbank Homes Ford Falcon. We're more used to seeing that car in the yellow and black of HPM, but a change in colours for this weekend. And Dale Wood just in behind in the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore. And some good news for Dale Wood this weekend at this round. He's picked up the Mike Cable Young Gun Award, which formerly was known as the Rookie of the Year Award. That's a big pat on the back to a young V8 supercar rookie, and $15,000 to go with it.
Yeah, the $15,000 will certainly pay for some of the bills during the course of the year, but you can see D'Alberto now just coming onto the back of Dale Wood. He's sitting back there. He's probably got the championship in mind this weekend. Caruso really doesn't have to worry about it too much. He's just got to keep driving away from the field like he's doing. But you can just see this. Looks like these guys are all starting to bunch up a little bit, but there's no doubt that these fast cars, the guys that have been in the top 6 on the grid, during the race, the car will look after its tyres much better. You head down and just get on with the job.
On board with Marcus Sakanovic, the exit of Siberia. Did go testing at Winton a few weeks ago, but a diff failure meant he only got to do 2 laps, so it was pretty much a day that was written off. And Damien White just back in behind him, who is coming back after that nasty crash in qualifying at Bathurst. I know he was a bit nervous coming into this weekend because this is a big track to come back after a big accident.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he obviously had a huge accident in one of the Jones brothers' cars and did a lot of damage to that car. But to come back here, I mean, it's a brave circuit. You really need to have your wits about you when you're driving around here.
Could
you hear Marcus just easing that throttle on?
And all we can see on the run down the front straight is ocean.
Yeah, you tend to actually not look at the ocean.
The corner's important too.
If you're going on a slow lap, you might actually see a bit of the view, but yeah, you tend to be a bit more focused than that. But around this circuit, you really have to be in high gear and just ease the throttle on. You've got to look after those tyres the best you can because it is one of the hardest circuits in the country on tyres.
Luke Yulden under real pressure here from Dale Wood, who pulls out and charges on by.
I reckon Luke probably missed a gear there or something. The way it went quite slow is a little bit strange.
We're just hearing from pit lane that the team are reporting there is a little bit of a gearbox problem with that car, and they had some gearbox dramas in practice because he must have been doing too much work at the gym. He snapped the gear shift actually, but I'm not sure if that's a reoccurring problem, but there's a report that he's lost a gear, and that would way up because the car still got power, but not quite at the point that it otherwise should.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of load that goes through the gearbox. You're using around about 10 kilos of force every gear change. You're doing a number of gear changes each lap throughout the season. There's a lot of load that goes through these components, and most of the teams, they do life the components, but sometimes they do get caught out. I've actually had a gear lever come off in my hand once before. I've had the knob come off the gearbox, off the gear lever before, and there's a lot of load that goes through those things.
Better than the steering wheel coming off.
I've had that happen too.
Tony D'Alberto driving for a championship. This is the car that won the main game series here at Phillip Island 12 months ago in the hands of Rick Kelly. It's looking the goods to go back-to-back. There is the man on the headset to Tony D'Alberto, Glenn Seaton, two-time V8 Supercar Series champ. And it's been his influence this year that's really calmed Tony D'Alberto down and moulded him into much more of a championship contender.
I mean, absolutely. What a great bloke to have on the other end of the radio, talking you through the situation here. You can really see these top 4 or 5 cars starting to sneak away from the field now. These are the quality cars, the cars that ran at the front of the main game over the last couple of years. And look, the guys are doing a fantastic job, and Caruso's still out in front, pulling away from the field.
Luke Yilden just dropping back in the pack, but Michael Caruso is in command. Race 1 at Phillip Island. Back at Phillip Island with the Fujitsu V8 Supercars and Jason Bargwanna. Some drama in the mid-pack. Jeff Emery off the circuit, and here is Damien Assaylet, who was involved in that drama, having his own problem at Southern Loop.
Oh, he's obviously gone for the brakes, locked the rear brake a little bit. Look, it's all happening here. The guys are they're certainly pushing hard for the minor placings in the race today.
Joel Spichella, a Formula Ford graduate, taking over the former Gary Dean Falcon. But that's the margin. Michael Caruso leading the way back to this man, Kane Scott. Another replay on the run over the top of MG, and Mark Howard just getting it all wrong there.
Looked like he may have actually gone to go back to 4th gear to go over Lukey Heights. Got neutral. I did that myself over the course of the weekend, and the car just runs straight on.
Adam Sharp, one of 3 Howard Racing Falcons. The team is going to expand into Formula Ford next year. They're going to run 2 cars in the Open Wheeler Series. They'll stick with the Fujitsu Series as well. But Mark Howard, who is the record holder of most number of starts, is going to step out from driving.
I mean, Mark's obviously very committed to really, forging some young guys through. He likes giving the young guys the opportunity here in the Fujitsu Series, as well as now announcing that they're going to do the Formula Ford thing next year. So, I mean, he's really focused on making sure that his business, his motor racing business, is still going on strong. But obviously, this is his last day as a driver. It's not nice to be heading through the sandpit during that one.
Adam Sharp has been backwards and forwards between the UK and Australia this year, and Damien Assaylet, his first weekend in a V8 Supercar at Phillip Island. That is his 3rd off in this one race.
And I'm sure he'll remember his first weekend at Phillip Island. They're all happening.
Ash Samadi, the former Carrera Cup driver, has joined us this weekend in the 2nd of the Sydney Star Racing Commodores, but has had a pretty tough weekend. But there's a good fight here. Kane Scott, Jonathan Webb, Dale Wood, Tony D'Alberto, and we're pretty much at that part of the race, Jason, where they've got to look after the tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're over halfway through the race now. The rear tyres would be going away. The roll bar adjusters would be coming into play now. Your fuel load's lightening off, so you have to get the brake bias right. That's why we've seen a couple of cars run off under brakes. They probably haven't adjusted the brake bias. But as the race goes on, obviously Caruso's car is flying, and these 4 are starting to bunch up a little bit, which is really, it's all about the tyre wear.
These longer races that we're running this weekend, usually the standard 3-race format is 2 short races followed by 1 longer one. This is good stuff for some of these drivers for next year's Phillip Island 500 on dealing with a car changing over the course of a stint.
Well, that's exactly right. And you notice when some of the Fujitsu guys do get to the endurance races, they tend to not understand how to work with the bars and so forth as much because, well, bit of push and shove, it's all happening.
Jay Verdnick, I think, telling Chris Bither to move around that corner.
To move, yeah. So these guys, it's a good opportunity for them to do these longer races and start to feel the car when it's different on different tanks of, loads of fuel, on different tyre wear and brakes and adjusting all that sort of stuff. It's healthy stuff.
That is the team down at Tony D'Alberto Racing, and a lot of talk about what they're going to do next year. My mail says they're in the main game next year with a VE Commodore, running their own team under Graham Jenkins, the former Tasman Motorsport team manager. But Dale Wood here, pretty keen to move Jonathan Webb out of the way, a couple of touches.
bit of bump and run. It's all happening side by side now into Siberia. So,
oh, another one. D'Alberto up the inside here. He's going to run it up the inside. Oh, there's contact. Oh, Tony D'Alberto, the championship leader, is in the wall.
Oh, and the worst case scenario is Caruso's out in front of the race as well.
El D'Alberto, his father cannot believe it. Can he get this car going? Can he get out of the sand? He's got to wait for the traffic to go by.
Let's see where he rejoins the race, but he's got to actually get points, hasn't he?
Yeah, he needs to be in the top 15. It's just like the main game to get championship points. And there's a tyre rubbing. This could be disaster.
If that rubs through and will flatten the tyre, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, won't get any points, but he's going to be kicking himself after that. He hasn't given Wood any room at all, and it's managed to turn him around in front of Wood and off the track.
Now, it all looked like it was a pretty safe scenario. Dale Wood was hung out to dry. Or was that a case of Tony not being clear?
Yeah, no, I think that Tony's probably thought that he probably had some space there. He started to move across to the right, and Wood's front it doesn't take much. As you can see, a slight touch unsettles the car, and he's off.
Well, we'll wait and see if Tony D'Alberto, that tyre, that rubbing tyre is the real key. Now, Kane Scott second in the race, Jonathan Webb third, and it looks like the tyres on the Smeg Commodore are out to lunch because Jonathan Webb has hunted down the former Holden Racing Team car and is keen to take second spot.
Now, D'Alberto's dropped around about 3 seconds a lap, so he's still running out there at the moment, but the pace is obviously down, whether it's bench steering or the front's hanging off, we'll obviously hope to see, but the Fernandez is off there. Here we go.
Now, that tyre looks like it's stopped rubbing. There's damage to the front spoiler, there's damage to the rear of that car, but with 3 laps left to go, he has to keep going. There's no point pitting.
Well, at this point in time, you'd go for it, wouldn't you? With Caruso out in front, there's no room to be taking it easy. Sometimes that tyre just rubs through the carbon fibre, it clears itself and stops working the tyre. So hopefully he can make it the finish for him.
Michael Caruso on target for 36 points. He needs to win both of the races this weekend to give himself any chance. He really has to uphold his end of the deal here, and I'm sure that when he gets to the pits after this race, he might just be licking his lips because he will be a real chance come race 2.
I'm sure the guys would have told him on the radio what's actually just happened. He would have got a little spring in his step. He's off and running now. He's out in front. He's got a sniff of the championship, and it's going to come right down to the wire now.
Saw a shot there of Kane Scott, the rear of the Commodore, stepping out sideways on the exit of Siberia. They're pretty much in get-home mode now with looking after the tyres, and I'm sure they're starting to think of what setup changes they need to make before race 2.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with 17 laps down now, they've probably used up all their roll bars, so they'd be at full soft on the rear. The front would be up to full hard, and they'd be just nursing home what they've got, pushing as hard as they can. And it's certainly going to be a battle for the minor places of the podium here, but and Dale Wood's car with the mirror hanging off, so hopefully he can make the finish without a problem as well.
2 laps to go. Kane Scott looks pretty vulnerable at the moment. He really needs to drive a straight race for the end of this one. Has come from racing back in his native New Zealand in the NZ V8 series and has to reprogram his brain to get back in the V8 Supercar. But Michael Caruso is really smashing them. He is so far in front, it's not funny.
He is, and D'Alberto's still running around. So obviously he's managed, there's the rear part of the bumper hanging off it. It doesn't look like it's going to cause too much of a damage. He certainly dropped the lap time. He's out to 41s now with only 2 laps to go, but he will make it home by the looks of it.
Here's the fight, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Kane Scott, Jonathan Webb, Dale Wood, the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore, and Damien White's made up a few spots just in behind them. So a nice way to return for the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, the 2-time V8 Ute champion. But Kane Scott hasn't really had to drive overly defensive. I think it's a case of the walking wounded among these guys with their tyres.
Yeah, it looked like that Kane was pushing very hard to go with Michael at the start of the race, but Michael's done a fantastic job. He's just got his head down. That ex-FPR car is obviously working extremely well, and he's been able to manage to pull quite a significant gap in only 19 laps of racing. But Kane's obviously now got the mirrors full, and you can see him defending down into MG. And I don't think Webb's going to get down through there. So it looks like Kane will probably finish second, and obviously Webb will take 3rd place.
Up in front, though, Michael Caruso, the Ford Rising Stars Falcon, has absolutely blitzed the field. He takes race 1 at the island. He's some 10 or so seconds in front of this fight. That is an absolute walloping after 19 laps. But Kane Scott It's been a long race, but he's going to hang on for second. Webb's home in third, and Dale Wood's in fourth. But the big question now is, where is Tony D'Alberto?
Well,
he is still on track.
He is. He was running around in ninth on that last lap, so hopefully he can get across the finish line. But the way the car, he's getting to all the sector times, so I'd say he'll make the finish.
Congratulations for Ford Rising Stars Racing. They've won 2 rounds this year at Adelaide and also at Queensland Raceway. They need to win this one to give themselves any chance of stealing the 2007 championship. Here is Tony D'Alberto. He's on track. He's going to make it home and pick up some points. He will be classified position 9, so he makes it home. But boy, he makes it tough for himself in race 2. He has to start 9th as well.
Oh, don't you love these championships when they go down to the wire? It's now going to come down to that last race. There's a lot of pressure on these two guys, and Caruso's in the absolute box seat. We'll have to work out with the points where D'Alberto needs to be, but Caruso needs to just actually head down and see if he can pull away and win the next race.
Well, quickly doing the maths, D'Alberto needs a 7th in race 2. Caruso, the winner from Kane Scott. Luke Gilden hung on there in 6th, and some good drives. Chris Pither and Brett Hobson in 7th and 8th, and Sam Walter, the second of the Greg Murphy cars, rounded out the top 10. But contact at Siberia with Dale Wood has left Tony D'Alberto a very unhappy man.
I was just trying to make my way back through the field, not taking any risks, and I didn't think that was a risky move. And you know, starting to come out of the corner and pick up the throttle, and got a hit from behind and turned me around and put me into the wall. I mean, just a little bit disappointing, I guess. But you know, we've still got the championship there for us to take, and we've just got to be smart tomorrow and get some points.
It was an excellent start to the weekend. We've had a lot of pace throughout practice. We just got a little bit mixed up with setup in qualifying. So, I mean, we always had it on the cards to be really quick here, and now we just got to do the best job we can.
Now, there's superstars all around at Phillip Island this weekend, and none bigger in world motorsport than this man, NASCAR superstar Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, 2 legends there together, Dick and obviously Dale Jr. But to see that V8 Supercars obviously has a lot of respect throughout the world as one of the leading categories. You even get the superstar legends come down and check it out.
This man is big business in the United States of America. He's driving for the Hendrick Motorsports team next year. He's one of the highest paid athletes in world sport.
And he certainly has a lot of respect for this category. We certainly got an opportunity to have a chat, and he talked a lot about how exciting the racing was and what he thought of it all.
Dale, what brings you down under?
Some time off, some vacationing, and to see the season finale in the Supercar race.
Hey, buddy. How you going, mate? Nice to meet you. Jason Doug, yes, sir. Small. Yes, sir. Number 10. All right. See, it's one of the leading personalities throughout the world of motorsport, and to be able to mix it with those guys, have a conversation is pretty special. I've been lucky enough to meet Ayrton Senna, Schumacher, and Little E. I mean, how exciting is that?
And Little E got to meet Barks. Race 2 of the Fujitsu V8 after the break.